Hey guys, Desolate Magic here, and it looks like Wizards made a little bit of an oopsie when they wrote a card for Kaldheim. I know, I'm shocked as well. Such a thing has no precedent. Oh, except for like every other set lately. Guys, they had that ETB Flicker thing where it was an infinite combo with itself. They had to Oracle update it on day one. So anyway, they had to do that with a card from Kaldheim, which, technically isn't even out yet. I do believe it formally releases in 3 days. It's been a very stuck-to street date. But they did sneak this in like, oh, it's just another Tuesday as part of their Oracle Changes article that they do once in a while. Oh, and by the way, the second one that they're Oracle text updating, Chains of Mephistopheles. Yeah, they're touching that dumpster fire. That is considered by most people to be the most confusing card in all of Magic. So they're gonna try their best to unwind that one after they've already rewritten it at least once. But first, the one you probably care about the most, it's Alrund, God of the Cosmos, a card which they playtested for weeks, if not months, stared at, read, revised, edited, and then still got it wrong. So Alrund, God of the Cosmos, they say, ruler of all that is. Okay, I thought he was just the blue guy from one realm, but okay. Who made him head god? Then again, I only read chapter 2 of the story. Chapter 3 coming. He says, was accidentally printed without the words revealed this way. Taken literally, which is how you take cards. You would put all cards of the chosen type into your hand. Like all of them. From anywhere in the cosmos. Oh, I actually like the way they wrote that. This is written by Matt Tabak, and he actually has like a pretty decent sense of humor. So he finishes with, we tidied this up prior to release. That's an optimistic way to put it. It's still wrong on the card. So anyway, it did say Alrund gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand and each foretold card you own in exile. At the beginning of your end step, choose a card type, then reveal the top 2 cards of your library. Put all cards, like the end, of the chosen type into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So then specify from where. Without that guidance, you would assume, obviously, but an argument could be made, and justifiably so because this card is worded incorrectly, that you could go get cards from outside the game, aka your sideboard, your library, in play. Could even be your opponent's cards. Doesn't even imply ownership. So they have now changed it to blah, blah, blah. Okay, end step, whatever, cool. Choose a card type, then reveal the top 2 cards of your library. Put all cards of the chosen type revealed this way into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So just lazy, careless writing. They didn't even take the time to compare this to any extremely similar cards or like reference their little guide that I assume they have on how to write Oracle text so that it's all standardized. This is not a particularly unique effect. There are cards like this. There's just no excuse for getting this wrong. None whatsoever. Good job, Wizards. It's like everybody in every department at your entire company just gives a half effort at any given time. So next up, here we go, Chains of Mephistopheles. So the original, just FYI, which in my opinion almost makes more sense, is, boy, you gotta really squint to get this one. Every time a player draws a card, that player must first discard a card from his or her hand. If there are no cards in player's hand, take top card, not take the top card, take top card from library and place it into the graveyard instead of drawing. This enchantment does not apply to the first card drawn by a player during the draw phase. Since uncovering this card, archaeologists have been trying to translate it into anything that makes sense, and they've mostly failed, but the new Oracle text was, and it's now the old Oracle text, the middle Oracle text was if a player would draw a card except for the first one they draw in their draw step each turn, that player discards a card instead. If the player discards a card this way, they draw a card. If the player doesn't discard a card this way, they mill a card. Oh, so they updated it again with the phrase mill, and now they're updating it again. Okay, what did they take issue with? Let's see. Besides the awkward wording, which it's an awkward card, they should just ban it. They say it was templated in a way that assumed each turn would have but a single draw step. It probably should, yeah, but okay, they like cloning phases now. He says, now just in time for Sphinx of the Second Sun, which, my god, that card. That is a foolish assumption. Oh, yeah, because there's no other cards where you just pick a phase and then do it twice. Actually, is there? No, I think you pick a phase and ignore it. I don't remember. Too lazy to check. I know there was like name a phase and then you do something with it, but I think all the instances of it deleted the phase or skipped it or whatever. So this could be the first instance of it, so they had to tweak it very slightly to the still very confusing. If a player would draw a card except for the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, and then it goes on to confuse you. That's almost more confusing because people are like, what do you mean each? You mean now it's both players? Because why would I have more than one draw phase? And if they're not, familiar with the new Sphinx, that still will continue to make no sense. So, good job. Next up, we've got Drana the Last Blood Chief from Zendikar Rising. Yep, they screwed that one up. So they say Drana's template was missing the phrase "an additional," so we added it. That text is there to help clarify what happens if the creature entering the battlefield has its own way of entering with +1/+1 counters on it. So the old phrasing is, whenever Drana Last Blood Chief attacks, defending player chooses a non-legendary creature card in your graveyard, you return that card to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. The creature is a vampire in addition to its other types. So the new text is, blah, 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 defending player chooses a non-legendary creature in your graveyard. You return that card to the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. This creature is a vampire in addition to its other types. Is it just me, or is that like 100% more confusing, less clear, and just worded awkwardly in a way that would confuse people? I mean, with the old way, it's like, oh, you return to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. Did they think that redundant counter drops cancel each other out? Because there's no rule that says that. So I would just assume, yeah, tack another one on. Cool. It's basically two instantly triggered like stack-free effects. It is not an ETB stack trigger, it is like a state, which is why maybe there's no other reference in the rules, but like I would have assumed it worked that way. But now that it says an additional +1/+1 counter on it, you might think, well, where would it get the first one? What do you mean an additional? Like, is something else on this card supposed to give it one and then it gets another one? Then read the card again and then you get even more confused, so I think they have drastically unimproved this card, so good job, guys. Next up, we've got Grim Reminder. This card got skipped in the recent Card to Spell updates. A grim reminder of the importance of precision. Ha ha ha. No, just use the Gatherer correctly. It was probably a Gatherer glitch or a typo or something that they couldn't find this, because they're searching for phrases. I mean, that's just like how they do this. So it used to say each opponent who casts a card this turn with the same name, blah, 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 whatever. Now it says, cast a spell because, duh. I mean, you can cast a card, that's just not usually how they refer to it. You're using, like, the cast spell ability of the card, you're not literally casting the card. Like, at least that's not what you would refer to what you're doing as. So they updated several cards, I guess, in the past, and they just forgot this one? All you had to do was jump on your crappy database and search for the phrase, cast a card. Also, I read it wrong the first time, it's past tense, whatever, who cares. Next up, an M21 card. It's just amazing how many mistakes they've made lately. Like, the entire meta of Standard. But additionally, we've got Idol of Endurance from M21, some simple editorial cleanup here, as we removed an errant "the" from the card's template. Wait a minute, there was a typo on this, and I missed it? Nobody pointed this out? Actually, the way this is phrased, it's grammatically correct each way, so I'm not surprised nobody caught this. So it's the end part. It says, until end of turn, or it used to say, until end of turn, you may cast a creature spell from among the cards exiled. Which, I mean, it's a direct, article reference to it. I don't see the problem. And now they've changed it to, until end of turn, you may cast a creature spell from among cards exiled with Idol. So they got rid of the, so that the reference is less direct and less clear. Once again, I don't see the reason for that. Well, source references are only, really important as to what they're referring to when a card or spell refers to itself. In almost all cases, it's referring to that instance of the card, not the card name. But if they add, an article, or the, to it somewhere, you can make it mean any instance of the card. So that's when it's important when you're referring to a group of cards. Well, it's clear what the source was in either case, so I don't see the need to change it. Next up, this one is pure gold. Are you ready for this? If you thought Commander Legends was immune to them making stupid mistakes, then you don't know Wizards of the Coast. So they say we inadvertently used the pronoun it in the rules text when we should have used her. Whoopsies. So in psychotic, paranoid, authoritarian, moral, language police, lefty SJW land, which is where everybody from Wizards lives. Oh, as a nickname, because that's way too long, they call it Seattle. But, yeah, anyway, pronoun confusion, referring to somebody by the wrong gendered pronoun, is punishable by death. Just kidding, that's a joke. All they do is cancel the person online, drag them through the mud, call every family member and harass them, get them fired from their job, and ruin their career forever. Because, you can't use the wrong pronoun. Unless, you just did it on accident for Jessica, whatever. So yes, Jessica is the card that they got wrong. She is clearly female. Not that that means anything to Wizards of the Coast anymore. And once again, unimportant. Nobody even caught this. Nobody even cared. So to me, this doesn't sound right. I'm going to look up some Planeswalkers after I read this, but it used to say Jessica enters the battlefield with a loyalty counter on it for each time you've cast a commander from the command zone this game. Yes, it, the card, a gender-neutral object. Okay. Once again, if they would have told me, hey, there's something wrong with this sentence, I would have said, what? I don't see anything wrong with that sentence. You put counters on it. So they've now changed it to, it enters the battlefield with a loyalty counter on her for each time you've cast a commander from the command zone this game. I mean, if they're like, this creature, if it attacked this turn, now it has to say if he attacked this turn or she attacked this turn, then do this trigger. Like, I can't think of another card where they reference the character on the card by gender instead of referring to the card or the spell as it. So I ran a quick search, and there are a grand total of 0 planeswalkers that use the word her in their wording. Absolutely none. Now, comically enough, the word him appears on quite a few planeswalkers. I guess I didn't notice. Garruk Relentless, here we go. When Garruk Relentless has 2 or fewer loyalty counters on him, transform him. And then there are no less than 7 Gideons that use the word him, like damage dealt to him, loyalty counters on him. Oko, probably not the version you're thinking of though, says damage dealt to him. Sarkhan the Mad says Sarkhan the Mad deals damage to himself. I legit never noticed that they use gendered language for those, but they have never referred to a female planeswalker as her, like ever. Did it just not come up? I mean, like I said, 7 of these cards are Gideon, and there are only 4 characters that refer to him, and it's always almost always phrased with loyalty counters on him or damage dealt to him. So I guess there's just never been a planeswalker like that, and they just caught this one because it was phrased incorrectly. I mean, if you got nothing to base it on, especially with like an AI search, you wouldn't probably know to flip it from it to her if your only reference was the word him, I guess. I just find it hilarious that a bunch of lefty idiots who are obsessed with gender identity, like to the point of it being an unhealthy obsession, that would be the people that got a gendered pronoun wrong. That's very ironic and also very expected. Oh, guess what? They found 2 more cards that should have said spell instead of card. One is Quicken and the other is Savage Summoning. Both pretty old, I guess, so I could see that. But they say Quicken was the next sorcery card you cast, which that does stand out to me as wrong. It now says the next sorcery spell you cast this turn, and then Savage Summoning was the next creature card you cast this turn, and obviously it's, the next creature spell you cast this turn. I don't see a big difference between the 2 phrasings. I don't really have a preference, but I do know which one is, correct and consistent with their standards. So, sure, update them, whatever. And finally, we've got the M12 Skin Shifter. This one's interesting. He says, we've improved the templating of modal abilities over the years. A more recent innovation was the realization that we could just include activation instructions of a modal activated ability up front before the modes themselves. Yeah, if they all have the same, trigger. But Skin Shifter certainly would appreciate this, and now it can. Yeah, look how that card looks. Like, just look at that. What the hell? Like, how is that not a bulleted list? So, legit, it said, choose one, hyphen, or whatever that thing that isn't a hyphen is, Dash? Is that what it is? Who cares? Until end of turn, blah, 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 blah. Or until end of turn, blah, 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 blah. Or until end of turn, blah, 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 blah. So obviously they updated to say choose one and until end of turn, ... Just kidding. I thought that's where they were going with that. And then I thought, I've never seen a card phrased that way. No, what they did is they actually added words and didn't clarify anything and then still repeated themselves 3 times. So the new text, which by the way, there's actually a hilarious typo in this article. They accidentally claimed that they changed the activation cost of the ability. No, they did not. It's still 1 green despite what they typed there. So that's pretty funny. Now it says, choose one, activate this ability only once each turn, period, and then bullet point until end of turn, blah, 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 and then bullet point until end of turn, blah, 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 and then bullet point until end of turn, blah, blah, blah. So they clarified choose one by adding a phrase after it, and then all they did was break it down into bullet points. Oh, they also claimed that the old Oracle text had bullet points. It absolutely did not. So there's actually like 2 massive mistakes or typos in their clarification for the final card, like in the article itself. Fantastic. What a great job. There's nothing better than fixing your own screw up by screwing up while trying to fix it. That's a Wizards of the Coast classic right there. So that's all the Oracle text changes that you need to know about, although need might be a little strong. Pretty much just a giant list of hilarity and embarrassments. I don't know what else you expected from them. I'm actually a little bit surprised that with their aversion to banning cards that technically aren't even out yet but have already ruined multiple formats, that we didn't see an Oracle text for some of the cards from Kaldheim where it just tacks onto the bottom, this card is not legal in any format. Literally to the Oracle text of the card. Because then they wouldn't have to ban it. Because the ruling on, the rules of the game are one thing, the rules of the format are another thing, but then whatever rules are stated on the card overrides everything. That is the lowest level of permissions, or highest level of permissions, depending upon how you want to look at it. Like low level from an order of operations, and then high level from a ranking. It makes sense both ways. So yeah, if they were to write on the card, like, you can have any amount of these you want in the deck, you can run 50 of them in Singleton. It's just the card says you can do it. So if they were to Oracle update a card to say, this is not legal, there you go. It's not banned, but you can't play it in anything. In fact, they wouldn't even have to add words to it. They could just do an Oracle text update where they change the border to silver. But hey, leave your guess down below. How long is it going to take them to issue a ban announcement for either Standard or any other format? And I think any other format is the one where they're going to more aggressively tackle some issues with some cards. It's a given that, in my opinion, within 2 weeks would be my guess, that they're going to ban Tybalt from everything but Standard. And then later they might circle back around and ban it from Standard. And the Death Touch guy, that's just cancer. That's just turn 4 feels bad, bro, unstoppable trash. And they'll probably throw Rogues under the bus too, because now we're like a set disconnected from that. But I think we're going to see a very, very early on banning of Tybalt's little red counterspell from pretty much everything that isn't Standard. I think that card will be gone real quick. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next ban announcement.